at the bottom of the ocean. I'm at the bottom of the sea. At the bottom of the ocean. Don't know if I'll make it back home.
Welcome back, everybody, to the UPL season. And there's not much more of it to go. My name's Infernosis, joined here by the oh so handsome and the oh so good looking fellow. How you doing tonight?
Also tall apparently too, because I had to get up for a quick second there. I had a nice little laugh about that. Yeah, we are just nearing the end of the quarterfinals here at Unified. Unfortunately, a couple of teams have forfeited and are on the ropes of possible disbandment, but luckily, we still managed to get a game to display for all of you lovely people that are interested in watching Unified R6. It's going to be Coastal Gaming versus Team Mystic here in a best of three series. And I know that some teams have been kind of disbanding and changing around due to new leagues coming back, like SCS, and just a couple of other leagues kind of dying down and just simmering off for a little while. So let's go look at the rosters, see what's new with Mystic and also Gaming, which, funny enough, Gaming wasn't even a team that was expected to show up here in the playoffs. But again, due to a couple of teams disbanding, they've actually made a return just to play in a couple more best of threes, perhaps here.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Well, you said disbandment. It's not always the case. Not every team disbands after they go. And I don't think Mystic would disband. And I don't think Coastal Gaming would disband either. I think these teams are very well set in stone. But yeah, losers are out. They're no longer here for UPL. This is make it or break it. But for the Mystic side, it's Doc Tones, Apex, Sweater, and Nurse. The CSG side, it's Coastal Gaming. It's Dubsco on Sneaky, Socket, and Bumza. And I will say this one first and foremost here, John. I am extremely excited for this one. You've given me a tidbits of information, so to say, about this one going into this. And I think that you have some things you want to mention when it comes to these map selections that are going through, as we'll
Yes.
take a look at our map bans and all of that. Let's hear your knowledge. Let's drop the bomb on it.
Well, there were a couple of good bands that happened between both teams in terms of comfort, Coastline being a big one because Mystic is a very aggressive team. They always have been and always will be ever since they picked up the team of aggro almost, it feels like a year ago at this point, in all honesty, Scott. And now their newest variation at the moment, which you just got to see in the roster. Coastline has always been one of their favorite maps to go to, so it only makes sense that Coastal Gaming banned it. What I don't like, however, is the fact that they picked Clubhouse first and foremost, because we actually got to see Mystic play this map against Aerial Rise's Academy team, and they played a really damn good attacking side on Clubhouse, and their defense wasn't that bad either. So this could be a very tricky map for Coastal Gaming to try to scrape away against that top seeding team in the Rogue division. And the map before that, Oregon, I mean, everyone knows how to play on that map. But again, due to the fact that Mystic is very good on that attacking side, with Oregon being relatively defensive favored, that could give them the upper hand early on, especially since they are attacking in that first half too. So that forward momentum really could go a distance. And in all honesty, Scott, we might not see a third map of Cafe Dostoevsky, which I know for some could be a blessing, but for Coastal Gaming, that would sure as hell be a curse unless they end up winning against Mystic's map pick and then their own on Oregon, then Clubhouse.
Well, it's all estimation, just a guessing game, so to say. But let's take the guess out of the game. Let's get straight into the game itself. Map one is ready and raring to go, and I could not be more excited for this one here. John, we'll have to see. I sure as hell hope we do not go to Cafe. You know my opinions on the map as a whole, and I think that from the way that we have seen this one go down previously and the way that we've seen these teams play throughout UPL as a whole, it will be a toss-up. There's a reason why Coastal Gaming is here. Don't throw them under the bus just yet, despite the map of Clubhouse being played for Mystic. Let's see what they can contend with. But first and foremost, can Mystic survive their map pick of Oregon? The ban phase has to go through. John, what do you think we'll be seeing here?
Not too sure. Probably a couple of default bans. Thatcher is almost a given. That's not really like a guess. I was going to mention Flores as well. To be honest, Mystic is not a big fan of bringing him out, so I don't know how I feel about that one. Perhaps we could have seen some kind of hard breach ban, maybe a complete target ban like the Capital, because especially on a map like Clubhouse, Mystic loves to bring him out, and he is relatively viable on Oregon as well, depending on how you like to play him on a couple of sites, one in particular, that top floor of Double Storm. Thatcher, I mentioned earlier, that will be banned as well. So at the very beginning of this ban phase, Scott, really nothing too out of the ordinary, in all honesty.
Well, I mean, you called it and you mentioned Flores you were going to call. We can't actually prove that you were going to call that one, so I'll take your word for it.
I
But
Yeah,
yeah, we
I
can't
mean, it's a
can't prove
default
it.
ban, but I
Yeah,
wasn't
but you can't
entirely
prove
sure if
it.
it get
You can't
picked.
prove it though. So
True, true.
don't try to get above your horses here. But default bans for the defense so far. Mir is up first. I wouldn't be shocked to see a Malusi be banned here, just because I know how much of a nuisance she can be in the basement, especially with the new ways that team are trying to push forward. But it'll probably be something fairly static, fairly normal for your defensive side. But it will, in fact, be a Valkyrie. Remove the information, remove the chances of defense being able to catch even tidbits of your body to snuff you out very early on in these rounds. And that's going to allow for a bit more of a heavier roam game, but one that's going to be entirely utilized around gathering intel, not just going for a kill, not just hoping for that first frag and then a die in the return. It's going to be information, information, and information. And John, I think you know as much as I do about Mystic here. They are a side that has some very aggressive players. Newer's frags are the best of them. Bills is phenomenal in the Wamai, as we've seen previously. There is no other team I know currently in the game of T3 right now of R6 that is as aggressive as Mystic truly can be. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they piece together to try to keep that up, and if they can continue to bring that forward now on the attack where they start first.
Also, just a fun fact, make sure your Parsec audio is all the way up so you can hear audible cues, since we are using that today. Hate to break the fourth wall, but I figured I'd mention that. That way you're like, wow, there's a weird audio bug today. I can't hear anything in the matchup. Nope, it's just because we are using a different clean feed due to vMix just wanting to not have its way with us, unfortunately. But top dorms being played here by Coastal Gaming on round number 1 with the util composition. They've got the double denial of both the Wamai and also the Jaeger, with emphasis on those shield plays as well, having both the Vulcan shields of the Goyo and also the Smoke bring out his one singular regular deployable. So this can help out when it comes to extending underneath, just wasting more of that time and denying some of that precious vertical play. But in all honesty, it looks like Mystic's team comp is going to be solely based on just getting deer control as quickly as possible, and then maybe just approaching from that foosball side of the map, in all honesty. And just based off of their spawns alone, I think that could be a dead giveaway that my call, at the moment, at least seems correct.
We've seen a huge disconnect from the previous strategy of taking control of master bedroom, going from walk-in closet, and setting up another attacking approach when it comes towards, big tower and taking control of that attic side. Not as many teams are really utilizing that as it used to be, and I think a lot of that, for the reason, like you said, is trying to go in from deer instead. And I do think that's probably the strategy we will see here from Mystic. They can go from long range, they can contend against Coastal, but they also need to snuff out the defenders currently lying in wait on the first floor. We've seen 2 of them, one's holding towards C in security. Let's go on at the moment. They also have their Jaeger sitting around as well. Bums is waiting for an opportunity. They need to get rid of these roaming players first and foremost to gather that safety net on this first floor so that they can categorically make their way through the second and actually force towards the objective. But we can already see Tones lying in wait with those X-Kairos pellets, looking to detonate those actually on that hard wall inside of Game's room. But they've got to clear the jammer there first, and they'll do that fairly quickly with a nade. And while they do pick up the first kill onto Bumza, Gohan's quick to refrag back Sweater, making this one a 4v4, but that Game's room wall is now cracked wide open.
Normally, you know, remove out that roam game so you can actually play up top a big window and not just funnel if you're going to go for that deer take. So at least that map control has been established a little bit more. Unfortunately, they had to sacrifice their only nade player of Sweater because Newers has already diminished both of his frag grenades. That basically mitigates that entirely. Bill's a beautiful shot down towards white. Little more being established here, but Coastal Gaming yet again is quick to respond with another trade. 3-on-3 situation here in the last minute or so. Coastal Gaming, they've got some proper positions here to just play for time perhaps, but the util spam is still coming in relatively effectively by Mystic, allowing them to find a slight opening. They rush in towards site, and Tone shuts down Sakuda. Not a horrible position to be in, and now that we're in the 1 versus 3, soon to be post-plant, there isn't much that Dubs really can do in terms of options, and just like that, they'll get quickly eradicated in the top of white, and the first round goes the way to Mystic.
A very well spread offense. The attacking side of Mystic kept a good job of keeping themselves coordinated in every direction they approached. Like you said, they could not allow themselves to be snuck out or funneled in through that big window, give them a little bit of a better, I guess, level of safety as they entered in, and they forced it to come down to that 1vx that came into such a disadvantageous position for the opposing side of Coastal Gaming. There was really no chance of Dubs to take that one, and I do like to point out that Coastal Gaming losing the first frag is very unfortunate, but I don't think that was the beginning of their downfall. They quickly refragged it back, but the rotation that you had to make to get back to that position was through the basement side, and then you had to make the rotation all the way over towards white or big tower staircase. There's really no option for you either way. You kind of get snuffed out towards Z, where they initial fight was initially happening. There's too much going on for Mystic on that first floor with very little opposition to it, as they only needed 2 players to really get that job done. And I know that I hate bringing up Chief all the time, but he brings it up really well. He's talking about the current meta for roaming strategies. If you find yourself as a defensive team in your roam game losing 1v1s or 1v2s, bring a second man not far behind and roam around with a 2-player man. You can watch each other's backs, you can have different angles of approach, and you can quickly refrag back where necessary. So at the very least, even if you do lose one, you should at least get the refrag back, and that secondary player can make their retreat elsewhere and continue to be useful as the round progresses onward.
I know that Mystic is a big fan of going for extended roams, especially on Clubhouse. It appears that Coastal Gaming will try to replicate that just on a completely different map in the site of Laundry and Supply, as that top floor really did not work out for them all that well. Sometimes the best thing to do against these very heavy roams is just to flat out ignore them. Maybe a rush in towards Blue Bunker could really catch Coastal Gaming with their pants down, established early on, and it would force a retake. But it looks like Mystic will try to poke out this roam first and foremost, rather than just going right into sight and dive bombing those 2 objective rooms. Already trying to clear out Big Tower as quickly as humanly possible, and Kaz was able to spot out the fact that the split castle barricade had already been destroyed. So pretty well start here by Mystic, really nothing out of the ordinary, and no aggressive rushes leading in towards that basement floor, unfortunately.
They need to kind of swing through Meeting Hall. That's their point of entry they're going for. This hatch has already been pre-breached for the opposing side of Coastal Gaming, but Bills does go for the quick entry, just as you were talking about, boosting in with that utility of Finka to go for the extra level of HP, and it's actually working out. And though Bills gets forward and finds themselves one, Socket is holding inside Freezer door and actually manages to find the refract. However, that guarantees Pillar side, and a very nicely tossed nade, which doesn't manage to find impact. It doesn't seem to matter, though, because Sweater picks up the secondary. Now with a player advantage favoring Mystic, before Gohan can have something to say about it, they're still trying to take control of this E-box drop, despite having 2 players with full advantage of Pillar as a whole. They're a bit worried once they go for the plant, they'll be counteracted through that hatch instead, and that is a very large worry for them. However, with Toxic Babe still on the menu for the defensive side, 2 of them are ready to be tossed. Now you're going to have to make it just 2 available. So he's tossing the second one and going ahead and detonating. Socket finds one more. Sweater with a refrag. It's a 2v2 situation here, John, but Pillar is still dominatingly under control here for Mystic, unless Socket doesn't have something to say about it.
At least they don't have to worry about the flank, and no longer that Freezer presence either. It's just sneaky inside of Closet. He rotates around, tries to find who's deep in the main hallway, and finds a brilliant shot on towards Sweater. It's just Doc alive, and he's 1 shot away from meeting the same fate as the rest of his teammates. Doesn't have exact information as to where Sneaky is. He's expecting him to be playing close near the Closet, but he's right around the Laundry rotation. So you can honestly just play close and burn a couple seconds. Air jabs finally being deployed here in the last couple moments of this round. The plant goes down, and there's not an air jab to cover out the main hallway. Doc's got enough the plant, and he'll get caught with his pants down. An easy 1v1 clutch by Sneaky, just to give a evened up round here for Coastal Gaming, bringing us into the 3rd round.
Everything kind of started there for Coastal Gaming as they were playing that extended roam like you were talking about previously. I will say that I did like the initial start for them, but Mystic, aka Bills and Doc and Tones did a phenomenal job, or sorry, I believe it was Newers, did a phenomenal job of entering in through that bunker side. Bills finding the first kill. They Finka boosted to allow for a little bit of extra assistance with extra HP entering inwards, and they found success initially. However, when you lose a refrag back, you need to be able to prioritize that individual target, because that Freezer doorway was a death point here for the Mystic side. Yeah, they get 1 refrag back, but there's a secondary player hiding behind box on the opposing side. If they had a Freezer player pushing in from an alternate direction, maybe we could have seen a bit more success from them, but it did come down to a 2v1 at a point in time, John. We can't necessarily dog on Mystic for doing a poor job. It came up to the individual clutching up where necessary, and then SMG-11 was way too much to contend with. Whether it was in Sneaky's hands or Socket's hands, it did not matter. Kills were found with it. That sprays down middle, that main hall, the shots over towards Pillar. It was a lot of impact made for those individual players, but John, you can't rely on the single MVPs to get the job done. The rest of the team needs to categorically pick it up across the board. Dubs has 0 kills. Bumza has 0 as well, and while their utility has been quite useful, they're going to need to start picking up some kills so that there's a little bit of extra help for those top 3 fraggers on the Coastal Gaming side.
And one thing to look at too at that last round was also the fact that Doc didn't use any of his air jabs but one. Having all three of them saved up was a bit of an issue, especially when dealing that roam game early on, but it kind of turned into a blessing. He could have possibly deployed one out near that main hallway and have just planted default, played all the way in the back of supply, and really have to force Sneaky to work for that 1v1 clutch. But unfortunately, he planted close, and the smoke was able to capitalize off of that. An unfortunate misplay will allow Coastal Gaming to secure that first round, but we're going back up the double dorms, which was not a great defensive hold by Coastal Gaming in the slightest, and it looks like they're up to their same old tricks, with the only thing changing is that there's no Jaeger on the board, and instead there's an Aruni in play by the operator of Bumzo, or player, my mistake. But Newer got his head clean off the shoulders, starting out that first pick favoring Mystic.
This is not the first time we've seen Mystic find the first pick as well, but thankfully for Coastal Gaming, they've typically found the refrag quickly, but that's not being allowed. Newers is continuing the dominance we've seen here from Big Window, finds their second target, that's onto Sneaky, and now finds their third, this one onto Sakada. A massive advantage now favoring the Mystic side. Gohan's going to throw their Nitro below that Big Window entry and hope that it's able to disallow Newers to step inside, but at this point in time, it's really going to come down to Gohan as a whole, and yes, the impact does find impact itself, but he's got to be able to pick up 4 more on top of it. It has to be an ace to win this one out. Now finds their third as he cleans off Bills and Sweater. A 1v2. Tones needs to keep the diffuser going down, and Doc needs to keep him covered. Dangerous position now. Has busted open one of the Vulcan shields. Needs to clean over through to the kid's room. But is having a dangerous position to do so. Swings over towards Big Window. Close wall. He downs one more. Gets the 4K. Does not guarantee it just yet. And Tones can be able to relay information over as Doc rotates over towards the games room side. Once found the angle. Finds the kill. And finds an ace to give the round to Coastal Gaming. Saving them from the grasp of defeats. They'll find themselves another round win. Bringing them up 2-1.
I cannot fathom that Coastal Gaming brought that back, particularly Gohan, doing all the heavy lifting on that round. How do you start a 3K by Newers and getting complete sight control, only having to worry about top white and still lose the round during a post plant? Again, I really feel like the air jabs could have been helpful there. That was not the entire issue, though. Just general player positioning and getting too confident in that round. Mystic were incredibly cocky because it's a 1 versus 5 at one point. Gohan was the only player that could bring that one back, and he still managed to. That was just an upsetting round overall by Mystic. I know that they can play 10 times better than that, yet they're allowing Coastal Gaming to punish them quite effectively. But at least on the bright side here, Scott, we're going towards the technically one of the worst sites on the map, meeting room and kitchen. So this could be a chance for Mystic to scrape away another round win. But again, I really got to highlight the fact that these roam games have still been relatively effective overall by Coastal Gaming, and I feel like a big part of that is because there is no area denial, in particular Doc with those air jabs. He has not been very active with them in particular.
They kind of just completely forgot about the first floor in that last round anyways. They didn't need it once Newers completely stepped in through Big Window and found 3. It was like, hey, we've got the objective, we've got second floor, this shouldn't be a big deal. Then you have Gohan, finds a Nitro Cell kill, sprays for a second, finds a long shot angle, spreads in through Kids Room, takes one more down, and then finds the last kill in Games Room. It's too much. Coastal Gaming had no reason to win that round, and it's an individual miracle play there by Gohan, and I don't like saying miracles because Gohan is a player that is well deserving of being able to pull off things like that, but Mystic should not even have allowed it in the first place. That's why I'm categorizing it as such an obtuse situation. It just should not have been allowed, like you've mentioned, but this is an objective that does typically start to favor a team that is more well-versed on it. It's a very difficult objective to be able to hold on to, and if we can see Mystic actually start to flush themselves throughout more than just one floor and have Newers doing the job or Bills doing the job every single round, then we'll probably see them find a bit more success. But keep in mind what we saw last time when it came to this hatch. They tried to clear it previously, the one in Meeting Hall on first floor, not the one above in Attic. but it's essentially the same job that has to be done here for Mystic, as they need to get control of that attic side. And the last time we saw that for their basement objective, they eventually just gave up on it and then went in for the push and won it until a 2v1 went through, and Coastal Gaming found that win. So the big question is going to be, Mystic, how do you play the second floor? How do you get in through attic side? And what's your game plan here to push through and flush the rest of Coastal Gaming out of this first floor meeting hall? I think John's internet may have died.
Now, hopefully it will come back. We'll leave it.
Interesting.
Yes, I don't know. Looks dead.
Hopefully it will come back. Hopefully it will come back. We'll figure it out. Things will eventually work in their own regard, but dangerous situation still for the side of Mystic. They need to push in. They've gone ahead and taken the breaching torch, the blue torch over towards that hall wall, giving them an open sight line now into meeting, as well as giving them a bit more of a peeker's advantage when trying to clear out main meeting hall. That's what I mean by trying to flush out this meeting hall site, but they still have the second floor attic they initially need to worry about. A drone hole could be a bit dangerous here, as you do see the player Dubs being trapped in the corner, but Bumza will get rid of Newers, making the noose that's tightening around that Coastal Gaming side a little less tight and give them a bit more breathing room as they try to work forward. Another one working as they find one more, but Bills claps back before rebounding back by Sakura. A 2v4 in effect, quickly drops to the 2v3. Sakura very low HP on top of it, needs to win the next engagement as Doc swings towards the Malusia Bumza and actually wins that engagement, dropping this one back to the 2v2. But John, I don't think you've noticed here, or maybe you have, Doc and Sweater combined barely equal 50 HP, but they'll still get the job done as Sweater and Doc combo for the last two and find themselves their second attacking round win.
Yeah, no, my internet only died for like 10 seconds, but it was the worst 10 seconds possible because you just handed it off to me, unfortunately. So I cast for the entire round, and nice round win for Mystic there to go 2-2. Huge buff. Hopefully my internet will live for throughout the, but probably not because, you know, caster curse, modem curse too, apparently, right?
The modem curse, bro. It's the modem curse. You just gotta like,
Simple.
I don't know, kiss it.
Try to unplug
your modem and just
something
like,
real quick and just come back. It's back again.
No, what you should do is you should do the Mr. Miyagi style and heal it, and like clap your hands together and then rub them together really fast, and then just like press on the modem. You know, wax on, wax off, and then, you know, they did it in Karate Kid. It worked in Karate Kid, so I'm sure it'll work in real life. They actually did it in both Karate Kids as well. Not just the Karate Kid that came out in like the 80s or 70s, but the Karate Kid that came out with Will Smith's son. For the life of me, I cannot remember their name.
Oh, absolutely.
I also think they go by
Jaden, right? What's his name?
Jaden, yes.
Smith,
I don't think he is a him anymore. I think Jaden goes by they.
He's doing some weird like clothing brand stuff now too, to like be environmentally friendly. That's kind of cool.
He has a food brand in like Canada.
Wow.
Or something. Like, and it's just called Brand. Like, it's like a no-name brand, right? But like, it's supposed to pass off as like a no-name brand, but like it's brand, right? It's just that, and apparently it's actually not bad. It's actually pretty good. So. Yeah, it's still a brand, but it's just called
still
brand.
Counterintuitive, yeah.
Their counter label, or whatever, like you would call like your store brand product. That's basically what it is.
Yeah. Oh, back on the basement floor here for Coastal Gaming. They did a relatively good job on their roam extension, but things did get dicey in a 1-versus-1 the end game. So it looks like they'll opt for the more default option here of just fully anchoring with a plethora of utility yet again. You've got that Wamai and Jaeger combination, and then again a big emphasis on deployable shields like we saw all the way in round number 1 on the double dorms pick. So this is going to cost a lot of utility along with time. Luckily, though, Mystic has plenty of nades and a Gone 6 in the hands of Finka. However, Newers off the bat will trade one-on-one between him and Bumza, and that already loses out a lot of utility off the board. But look at how aggressive Tones has got in this first round. He's already so close inside of Freezer, and Bills is up in Laundry as well. This could be a quick double-pronged push, and it might catch Coastal Gaming off guard, but a crossfire will annihilate Tones and manage to allow Coastal Gaming to stop this aggressive push in the first minute or so of the round here.
Ooh, nice other frag picked up. Bills eviscerates the head of Sneaky. Now looking for a second, though, but his life will be snuffed out by Gohan. Dawn 6 finally sent, but will be snuffed out by the ADS. A bad position now for Sweater, but they'll toss a nade, hoping to separate some distance, and it does actually tag Gohan and gets rid of the Vulcan shield placed inside main hull, but they've got to get through Freezer's side first and foremost, but Doc is the player that's still waiting to do so. Finds the head of Dubs. Can't find anymore as Gohan finds their third. Hunting for the 4K will not be allowed the ace, but it will still be a very successful round for the player. But Sweater's looking to deny that until Sakura steals the day. Finds the last kill once again, and will find Coastal Gaming winning another defensive round here against Mystic. But this one, as we've seen time in and time out, John, has been Mystic playing hyper aggressively in the middle stages of the round. That 30-second meta we've known for so long inside of R6, not only has it taken a step back recently, we're seeing zero glimpses of it here on the map of Oregon.
That's the first 30-second meta, I guess, left to coin, or at least the Mystic meta, maybe. Though we're not completely coining one of Michael's beautiful quotes, because fun fact, that is the person who really popularized the 20-second/30-second meta phrase.
Really?
So always in our hearts still, as apparently NA cannot leave these dang shields and anti-spam util alone ever. Can't just rely on their frags all the time. Mystic can try to, but it just has not been all that successful. I liked the idea of trying to get really aggressive early on, and they did notice a pretty big opening early on, but they just didn't have anything to fall back on. They already lost 2 sets of nades due to that early aggression not really being entirely successful, and it just dwindled down into another round win here for Coastal Gaming. Not a bad start on this first half. They'll make a return here to Meeting Room and Kitchen, which did not go their way the first time around, but I think they've learned from their past mistakes. So hopefully this can be a 4-2 split in their favor, because if they do give Mystic that 3-3 split, that really be a break on Oregon, just because they're going to be on that defensive side moving in that second half, and we all know how defensive side of this map can be put in the right hands.
Oh man, I hate it. I hate how defensive most of these maps can really and truly get. That's why Chalet is the best map, John. That's just why. It's not
clearly.
because I have a biased opinion about it whatsoever. But I will bring forward
Caster
Dubs.
bias?
Caster bias? I've never heard of it. Never heard of him.
Shocker.
Who's bias? Dubs still has 0 kills, but I'm actually going to go ahead out on a limb here and say Dubs has been playing this actually very well. I've been very impressed with their positioning. We talk about them on basement twice, where they were holding very close inside a freezer, and they were able to keep the opposition at bay for a little bit. Both kills being stolen by Sakura initially in that first time in the basement, but ultimately we're going to have to focus more on this round and seeing what Dubs can maybe get together in this round. But first and foremost, they have to survive it. Mystic take out Gohan, but a quick swing by Bumza and Sakura flying too. But Bumza loses their life to Newers and a swing over towards that lower staircase. Bills with yet another now, taking the head off Sneaky. A 3v2 in effect. Dubs still has 0 kills, needs to find something as Sakura has now been dropped to 20 HP and does not have much to work with when you've got a BB gun in your hands that is the UMP.
But at least they've cleared him out. They can recover Case now. Doc will do just that. In theory, it's a 1 versus 3 because Dubs does not have that backup just yet. Sakuda had to go on a long rotation and only now will join his teammate, but he's dead to rights. It's just Castle, and he gets caught with his pants down. Bills with the last 2 of the round with the LMG deep inside of Kitchen. It's going to be a Mystic round win to even things up completely 3-3. And again, it's just been coming down to these small openings that Mystic has been able to spot out and capitalize off instantly, just to make sure Coastal Gaming really has no plan B to fall back on.
A 3-3 split at your halftime as well. That's going to favor Mystic now as they head over towards the defensive side, and I do think that it's going to be very interesting to see how this first initial laundry room hold happens to go down. I want to talk about the setup and the lineup that they're bringing. Newers, no shock to me whatsoever. The moment that 1.5 got added to Alibi, Newers was picking that one up and playing it religiously. I've seen him do it so many times, and I'm impressed with it every single time. Majority of the times has been on Villa, John, but I do still think that it's going to be an effective weapon, especially in Newers' hands when it comes to the map of Oregon, and even when it comes to this kind of sequestered corner hallway objective room that is this double basement side. I do still think it's going to be quite effective for him, especially if Newers even just slightly extends and has even a sort of semblance for an extended roam on another floor. Bills with the Legion Goo Mines is able to have a little bit more success when it comes to gathering information by tossing those. He can sequester corners. He can force a player to have to slow down. And with the mobility we saw that Mystic bring to the table in that first half, I think maybe they're fearful of Coastal Gaming bringing that same exact sort of initiating push. And so they're going to try and slow that down as best as they can. But if they truly wanted to slow it down, a Melusi would have been a fairly strong decision to do so. But I actually kind of like the Legion a little bit better here. The weapon in hand is extremely strong. The Melusi Banshee is extremely easy to deal with now in recent times. As long as you gain that first pick, you can step in with really no damage whatsoever and just wait for it to come out and shoot it. At least the Goo Mine is invisible, and it forces them to walk away to pull it back out or stand still and face your wrath as they attempt to pull that needle out of their thigh.
So long as you can keep the mental tab of where all your goo mines, it's not the worst thing to have to remember, I suppose. But Bills is already dead. So I guess you won't have to keep that many mental tabs, as you probably only place one, if not two. That's a really big upset off the back there by Mystic, that first initial pick. And the slight roam game that was being intended by Mystic to try to waste some early time has already been completely blown out of the water. So Coastal Gaming will honestly just get a really great start here on their first attacking round.
Starting off strong is exactly what you need when you're facing a defense that you have yet to prod and test like Mystic has been, and obviously they prodded fairly strong. Their first poke being an actual kill against the player of Bills will be, like you said, a bit of an upset, an underdog story as this round starts over, but you can also see them clear out hatch inside of main lobby. They'll get rid of the Surya gate that's walking in that direction and start to dump their utility downwards so they can start to initiate and engage on that launcher room push. However, Bumza still needs to step in through Freezer, and the toxic gas will make it a bit more difficult, but they're actually spreading their gas quite thin, tossing one towards that laundry staircase and one towards Freezer, leaving only one in the pocket, and it's going to have to be Tones who decides where that has to be sent, and he'll decide to push it towards Freezer instead, but Bums is already deep inside, given the spacing where necessary, and is looking for the head of the player that I believe is actually Newer, sitting behind this laundry room washing machine, and actually Newers comes in up top, the 1.5 scope, doing exactly what I thought it would, taking the head of Bumza. It's an uncontested hold, but Sweater loses their life next to Sakura, but Gohan's been down.
And in this position, you could probably attempt for a plant, but it's inside a Freezer, and Case is now dropped. This is huge for Mystic. All they need to worry about now is just finding frags deep inside of the rotation leading in towards Elbow, and it's just going to end in a matter of seconds. Honestly, you had elbow control and you had that backup supply. You could have gone for a plant, but again, the Habana was inside a Freezer with Case, and there was no denial either for that plant too. That round could have went so much better for Coastal, but unfortunately, Scott, it was just not meant to be, and Mystic will still manage to save the leftovers and get that first win on their defensive half. I am incredibly upset because from the very beginning, Coastal Gaming just played that one so well. They punished the over-aggression from that roam game. They immediately transitioned over, started burning through util, and forcing Tones to use his Toxic Babes incredibly early on. I mean, really, the sky was just the limit for Coastal Gaming on that round, but unfortunately, they lost it in the very end. They're going to have to go up against another heavy roam composition perhaps here, as Vigil was being teased but gets picked off instead. There is still the alibi though of Newers, so maybe he can get aggressive. Also Sweater on that Mozzie. He loves to go on that roam game when picking the Australian operator and then falling back inside of the site later on and towards that last minute and a half or so to try to be a helpful anchor with possibly utilizing that C4 if it's still kept in his back pocket later on. A lot of potential here for this round here on Double Dorms. Let's just hope that Coastal Gaming do not drop the bag, in all honesty.
Now, I don't like dogging on Dump so much, because I mentioned their utility usage was quite well, and at least their positioning was fairly all right here in that first half. But the second half now, when you're talking about being a hard breacher like your Maverick, and having more than just one role of getting that wall open, you also have nades that you can work with to toss and destroy some of the defensive utility, maybe find a frag if that's what you're going for, though it's probably not exactly your go-to position that you want to do. No matter what it is, Dumps needs to stay alive, and that's not something that Coastal Gaming have necessarily struggled with initially, but it's something that they're obviously having a problem with right now as Gohan gets down, forced to use that Finka boost while in the DBNO state, and picks themselves right back up. 4 nades still on the board, have not lost those 2 in the Finka's hands, and Gohan can keep themselves alive and start to work once again through that master bedroom side until they lose another. Sweater with the Roni, finding the head of Sakura and removes them just as swiftly. A fabulous shot up towards Big Tower, and Sakura themselves are calling out just how strong it was. Here goes that Nitros you were talking about. That'll make the fear over towards Bumzo, worried that there's multiple avenues of approach to shoot, but only one for Sweater as he swings over through Deer, takes out one, takes out their second. No, it's their third kill in the round as Snaky's head is locked clean off, and just Gohan and Dums remain. And this seems almost insurmountable at this point, John.
Sweater just a menace on round number 8, doing everything for his team that he so can. It's the 5-on-2 with about 1:05 left. Tones will be taken care of. Worry about that raid boss, and currently that Sweater, not the smoke player. I believe close near sight. I mean, 4v2 is much more winnable in comparison to a 5-on-2, but you don't have Case in your back pocket either. So really, you just need to work for these potential picks, and Gohan will try to attempt that near big window. Can't spot anyone out just yet. Tries to find the silhouette, but maybe that Jaeger player of Doc was not able to check with that unfortunate 20/20 vision. Now getting in towards the last minute or so. Really are not giving him bag and work to continue deeper into this round here, Scott. There it is. It's the end of the round.
Yeah, cleaned up just as swift, John. It has not been a very solid attack right now here for Coastal Gaming, and I don't want to give any sort of negatives towards their decision, but I will give a positive to somebody. It'll be Mystic. They have been dominant. They put a vice grip on that last round, the round before. They had a huge comeback after losing that first pick, which is usually a big indicator for how the rest of the round will go. At least sets the pace, the tone setter for how it will go onward, but no, Mystic claps back, returns here in this next round, a near flawless round win, and Coastal Gaming, well, they have got to pick something up and put something together. We're heading over towards the kitchen and meeting hall side. We know how Coastal Gaming liked to defend that one, and we knew how Mystic liked to attack it. Mystic kind of trying to flush out using those Maverick the blowtorch to create some nice and easy sight lines, getting rid of the majority of that left side of that hard wall connecting over towards rear stage. They didn't really get massive control over attic side, but they did gain full control over towards kitchen. We saw a lot of success and a lot of, I guess, notational advantage for what Mystic were doing, but now with them on the defense, they don't know how Coastal Gaming is really going to attack this one. They look to have a pretty cookie-cutter strategy when it came to their basement and that last floor on seconds. So in my mind here, if I'm Mystic, prep for the best, right? Or prep for the worst against you and play for the best, right? I think Coastal Gaming is going to bring out something that's fairly standardized, and I do think that Mystic's lineup right now is going to be something that's a bit difficult for them to work with. It is a bunch of guns that are absolutely, unbelievably, ridiculously strong in the right hands, and I'm sorry to break it to you, John, Mystic's entire roster could be classified. Change their roster's name right now to the right hands.
I mean, that's always been the factor here, is almost everyone in Mystic has been gunners throughout their entire history. That's just been kind of the mono of Mystic, I suppose. And speaking of early gun confrontations, Doc lights up Bums at just about half health. Luckily, though, with the new Finka changes, maybe an early adrenaline surge could replenish some of that lost HP. So far, though, that's not going to be attempted just yet. First 30 seconds of the round, and already plenty of action has come in underway, with Tones getting aggressive yet again near that double door, and will shut down Gohan, but will be punished for his early aggression by Sakura up near Armory. But there's a quick trade yet again. This time Doc with the MP5K annihilates Bumza, who he tagged earlier on in the round. Mystic again just having an onslaught of early aggression, and really no one here to overall punish up until now. Yet again, it's Sakura on that top floor to remove Doc from the equation, so we're back on even footing, but it's only the first minute of the round, and Mystic has already come out of the gate swinging.
Been an aggressive swing as well. This is not your blase boxing fight. This is UFC no holds barred. They are at each other's throats looking for any and all points of impact, and they've found so much success so far. And I do think that it's only going to continue from here onwards. Bills holding in towards White Stairs at the top. He's going to go ahead and walk through the soft wall that's being sprayed through. He knows there's a target down the line, and that's target acquisition at its best. Sprays down one, goes prone for the second, and finds the kill as well. An easy cleanup for the player that is Bills, and will swing themselves yet another round win. And John, it has been a very strong one at that match point now for Mystic, as we're on their map of Oregon. And you also said it yourself, Mystic are just as strong when it comes to Clubhouse that Coastal Gaming picked up. This is going to be a very dangerous one. Can Coastal Gaming make the return on the map too?
And there was so many minor things that Coastal Gaming done to bring that round back, either concussing out Bills perhaps, or throwing out a nade near him. They just ran into Mystic. And I'm not saying that Coastal Gaming's players are bad. Don't get me wrong. We've had a couple of shine-in players such as Gohan, who's got 12 kills to his name right now, and who did most of the work for Coastal Gaming in that prior round. It's just Mystic also has great players too, and questionably or considerably better than Coastal Gaming, at least statistically speaking, and overall just how much experience they've had. Some players in Coastal Gaming I know probably had taken a break or have not been in serious teams for quite some time up until now. So I really feel like Coastal Gaming just hasn't been respecting Mystic all that much. And they're not getting a clear understanding as to knowing when to back off, when to overextend, etc. And Mystic has really been working that key factor just to confuse Coastal Gaming a majority of these rounds. And on the attacking side of Oregon, it's so challenging to try to work your way up against a very good team, and this is a prime example of that, as Mystic have really not had any unsuccessful rounds here, except probably the very first round in the defensive half, and even then, they still took the cake because of one simple mistake of Sneaky dropping Case. But speaking of Sneaky, we'll actually start off on the right foot, killing the smoke tones off the bat.
A great way to do this one. Do is just calling out Dubs. I think fairly upset at that point in time, but 2 quick frags dropping back to back. Doc may take out Gohan, but is quickly taken out in return. Dubs finds their first ever kill here in this one, and now Coastal Gaming just say, we want to swing this. We found the kill. Start to entry. Sweaters takes out Sneaky. Newers with a refrag back over, takes the Roni to the shot of the head of Skuda, and it's over as soon as it started, with Newers capitalizing off the last 2. A very aggressive approach is what Coastal Gaming attempted to bring forward. They thought they would get the drop on once they find that opening pick and refrag back. Disallowed though, as Mystic's defense is completely and unironically an iron wall. Insurmountable, impassable. Mystic are your map 1 victors, and in a very, very strong fashion. Dubs though, finding their first ever kill here, John. That is a let's go for it. First ever kill, swing it in. I'm proud of you, Dubs. You take it away.
Yeah, pulled his best power impression from last match that Sticula and I actually casted, where he went 1-11, and I'm only referencing that because he is my friend, so he can take a joke from time to time. Yeah, that was not a great showing by Coastal Gaming. If you really want to play devil's advocate, then you could say, oh, well, that was Mystic's map pick. Well, Oregon is also one of the most played maps in every competitive ladder, whether you're a collegiate team or all the way up in the NAL, for example. Oregon a lot. And it was basic mistakes made by Coastal Gaming, which was mostly just getting too aggressive and not realizing the fact that Mystic was doing the exact same thing and catching them off guard a lot of the times. I referenced the one-liner of caught with their pants down. Yeah, there were a lot of key moments where that happened, especially on the defensive half. But with all that being said, we still have Clubhouse to see if we can actually go to a third and final map, if Coastal Gaming can bring it back on their map pick, or if we'll have a quick and decisive 2-0. Stick around and find out in a short little break, and then return to see how Clubhouse will actually favor for these 2 teams. Don't go anywhere, chat. Welcome back, everyone. We've got map number 2 just underway, just making sure everyone is absolutely ready here for the fun house here on Clubhouse. The Mickey Mouse fun house, as some of you like to say it, as Mickey is getting to be a pretty fun word to say here and there. I mean, I've even got Mickey Mouse right up here with me in the background. If you couldn't notice, I know my camera just barely keeps it out of frame, but I figured since it is that holiday season, I might as well have everyone in Rainbow Six in my hearts every single time in my room, which can be beautifully granted by this one singular Christmas ornament. But you and I did a little bit of talking here about how Clubhouse will go. Honestly, I'm not really thinking that Coastal Gaming might be able to bring this one back despite it being their map pick. It could be much closer in comparison to Oregon, but I still think that we're not going to get the pleasure of seeing Cafe tonight. But I want to hear your thoughts about this one, Scott.
Do I call you out? Do I call you out and say what you actually said during the break? Do I just tell everyone what you actually said during the break?
I mean, that's just like basically what I said, just a little bit nicer.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah. I also agree. No, it's totally fine. I agree. You did say this is Mystic's map. They play this so damn well. This is their map 100%, and I 100% have to agree. It is their map. Mystic will absolutely take this if they just do their Mystic things. We saw a very piss poor Mystic in round 1, and we talked about that as well. That wasn't the Mystic we know from Coastal Gaming took it because of that, but I think we're fairly ready to go ahead on in if we have the opportunity to do so, and I'm actually really excited to see how this map is going to go because you've been hyping up Mystic so much on this map, but it's the same thing as Oregon, right? You're going to talk about the fact that this is your T3, T4 special maps. This Villa Cafe has kind of been slinking in there as well. I hate it. These are your T3 and T4 specials, and every single team is going to have plethora, hours upon hours of days, if not years, of experience on this map, on these maps. So saying that Coastal Gaming picking this one is going to be the weakest link, I don't know. Mystic are good on this map. We know that for a fact. Coastal Gaming should be good as well. So this should be two teams at their best potential. And I still have to give the nod to Mystic, especially how we saw that second half drop down for them.
Well, a Maverick ban comes in through by Coastal Gaming. So maybe actually attacking CCTV is going to be a little more challenging. I'm wondering if my ban might get banned for counteraction to that. No, it's going to be a target by Coastal Gaming. That's the board. Don't know how to think about that one, to be completely honest with you. Maybe they just don't want LMGE on this round. Not a little more stop destruction. Am I good? Am I here?
You're here. I'm just saying denying bills. Right?
Oh, like okay. I'm not gonna lie. I panicked for a second. Sorry, Scott.
Am I here? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I don't mean to instill panic in you, dude. I apologize. Keep going.
It's okay.
Keep going.
All right.
Defensive ban, though. Oh, yeah, you take it. Fine. We're having a really awkward moment right now, John. Let's just kiss and make out. We'll get over it. It'll be fine. Valkyrie's the first ban up on the board for Coastal Gaming for their defensive pick. Mystic has theirs, so they just go over something tried and true, like taking out Mira. Yeah, they'll do just that. No target ban, no individually harassing one player or another. They've been doing enough of that individually, with Dubs taking only 1 kill total on that last map. And even Newer's calling them out for it as well. I think they're just like, we'll do it with the gameplay. We don't need to specifically harass somebody by getting rid of their best player. We'll stick to what we know best, and that's just to win the rounds. And we'll have to see how that goes. They start on the defense, John, and we know what Mystic is capable of on the defense. And we also see Newers, who we know is capable of doing a lot on the alibi, and that's what we see locked in first and foremost. The very first operator pick I saw pop up on my screen was Newers with that alibi.
Also, the left to right aspect, not that much either, to be honest. But yeah, this all looks pretty standard for a CCTV defense. It only made sense that we're going here first because Maverick is in ban, so you can actually K trick or ban if you really want to. But it is only K'd with that ale for a bit of a garage defense, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you, but either way, the K pick will still be very, very helpful, at least when it comes to slowing down that hard destruction just by a tad amount. Yeah, alibi pick as well. It's just something Newers is comfortable with. And you know what? Sometimes comfort is simply just king. He hits his shot in the end of the world, and also have will shield the player too, so it'll be a little bit helpful moving forward and towards the anchor game, not just the roam presence, but the fact that how fast alibi can be.
5 seconds.
Speedy. What's the Speed Racer? I think is the old TV show or whatever, that old thing. I absolutely loved that, to be fair. There was also a really great movie for that one I remember as a kid, but ultimately, we'll talk about everything else I remember as a kid. Competent teams putting together a very strong start. And I do think that's something that we can see right here, as Coastal Gaming has definitely made their name known here in UPL and has gotten up here, some would say by luck, as some teams had to drop. Some would say they were well deserved of this position, no matter what it has been. If they're able to piece together the same performance we saw them do in the first half of that map 1 on Oregon, then we can definitely say they have a fighting chance. However, Mystic has been a team that has been stalwart on their defense. No single glimpses of success for any attacking team against them so far in this one, as Coastal Gaming was just not able to piece any of the puzzle pieces together. They're already trying to play this one very early, pulling a piece out of Mystic's strategy book, taking the aggressive stance. 1 minute in, finding their first kill, lips off Bill's heads, and now you have your position where you had a player advantage and have control over construction. You just need to find a little bit more impact and start to work in with a pincer as you get your team situated either through garage, through that southern suburb, or taking control of that CCTV hardball on the eastern suburb. No matter which avenue you take, you need multiple angles to attack from and to initiate. And we can already see they busted open that eastern suburb. They just need to find the impact. But Tones denies Sakida, giving them another chance to fight this one back. But Bums Up frags back immediately.
Big problem here with the take is if you don't clear out the player in wrap, you just hold down a deadly angle and shut out that main execute. Kite comes to counteract the Xyros far too late, so that wall will get opened up by Coastal Gaming, allowing another sight line and maybe an easier point of access into the site. Tones gets back up by Sweater, and now everything is looking a little bit better here for Mystic, and they have control inside of Raptors as well, as long as Sweater can rotate around once again and just hold down the angle. He was playing inside of Red as well. Deal a little bit of damage towards Bums Up and not get that initial pick, so we're still on even footing here, but time is dwindling down. Microsoft gets support early, so that cannot be used to deny the execute, but Sweater is still on a heap of around. Just things up again, though, as Sweater is not able to find more than 2 on that round, and the plant will now start to go down, but there's no more coverage. Jumps up at just time. It's only Sneaky left alive, and Newers will find that 2K to seal the deal. Give round number 1 Mystics last time.
How many times do I have to call out Alibi for doing Alibi things? Newer specifically. I knew that he was going to pop off with that 1.5 on the oh-so-spectacular weapon of choice for your Alibi mains, the MX4 Storm, and I can only predict for that to continue. Mystic fighting round 1. Solid success to start off. Coastal Gaming stepped inwards, took control of that master bedroom side, swung all the way over from that jacuzzi wall. They cleared out Logi, they cleared out master bedroom, swung towards construction, took the head off Bills, and they were able to set themselves up, but no other direction direction was dropping for them. They opened up the eastern sub with that CCTV hardball, but Tones found the next kill, making it even more difficult for them. It was frag for frag. Things were going both directions for a short little while, but then the distance was separated. The hold was held by Mystic, and they were just a little bit too much to contend with for Coastal Gaming. Now we're heading down to the basement site. I can only imagine that Coastal Gaming need to find multiple avenues of approach once again if they want to be able to find success here. And I know, I hate to say this because it's absolutely the worst strategy ever. If you want to throw Mystic for a loop, take control of dirt, find at least one player down there, have yourself an avenue in that direction, and then give yourself another player maybe towards maintenance side, inside blue, dropping in from secret, maybe taking that sewer side as well if you want to drop in through pit. You also have the option, of course, taking through main staircase, using a buck or a sledge to clear out floorboards, but Costa Gaming have not opted for any of that here. They have the Ash on Gohan, apparently opting for that instead. I believe the Sophia, as we have seen them previously do, because it has been banned out. The only real floors now that they currently have are breaching charges in the hands of Sakata, breaching charges and rounds in the hands of Gohan, and if they're absolutely desperate, they could throw a nade or two if they wanted to do so, but bit of a waste. They have a good amount of util to do it, just not as much as you would typically bring, and down goes Bills. Once again, the first kill favoring Coastal Gaming.
Now they can be able to find these entries here and there, but just keep that forward momentum. We saw them completely collapse in that end game position. Off on the right foot might not always be the best thing when necessary here, and I think my internet's done. No, I am switching between the VMix, and it keeps fooling me because the VMix is lagging, and then it appears that I am lagging. At least I'm not completely dead just yet, and neither is Gohan, as he'll get revived outside to keep that man advantage in the hands of Coastal Gaming for the time being.
Dangerous position, though, as Newers is on the prowl, John. He's coming down now from red stairs, has control from down below in lounge, and Bumza and his cohort of Gohan are hanging in on the rafter side. Newers snuffed out with information, able to get rid of the drone, but now needs to face the wrath of the two doppelganger duo heading inwards. Welcome back, everybody. A bit of a small technical problem that occurred, but I'll give you a bit of a run cap or a redown for the rundown recap. I really messed that one up there, John. A bit of a recap and rundown for round two, exactly what exactly went down. We saw a very swift angle that went forward to give the side of Coastal Gaming a 4v3. However, a nitro cell from Sweater's Pan removed it down to the 3v3, quite officially engaged onward from there. And while the players at Coastal Gaming did a fairly good job of gaining control of Mimo, dropping down that hatch and getting inside of the church room, they were, unfortunately for them, snuffed out, fell to the wayside, and there was nothing left for them as Mystic collect the rest of the kills necessary and found themselves an opportunity to give themselves their second round win. Good start. Everything is set in stone for them, and now round three is what we're seeing go underway, John. And welcome back, everybody that's now watching, and as well as to you.
10 seconds to go.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. I'm just
5 seconds to go.
trying to let's get a little bit of this on this round because Rook is on the board. And yeah, these executions have just not been all that graceful by Coastal Gaming in all honesty. They've been themselves from the very beginning, then just not looking all that hot. Hopefully they can change that around. This is one of the weaker sites to go to of gym and bedroom. And again, the team composition is erratic by Mystic. But other than that, at least the one saving grace gaming has been the fact these opening picks early on, but that's not the case apparently.
Methodically is the approach at which I think Coastal Gaming needs to do, and unfortunately they're just being a bit too aggressive in a lot of their approaches, and they're not being careful enough in a lot of their other ways. Sakata, first one to fall, 0 and 3, and that's kind of been the story we've seen here for Coastal Gaming. It's been the total opposite now for Mystic, as Tones takes out Bumza, tries to find a refrag back. Sneaky will take out Bills, but Gohan is swept out by Tones. Sneaky finally finds a second. Hopefully this is a start of something new, maybe a resurgence for Coastal Gaming, but they need to be able to take out one more, and that player will be Tones, who's trying to go up the staircase leading into rafters from Garage. Dumps is the player to find it. 2v2 in effect. Sweater and Newers toying around, I guess, inside behind their shield, the master bedroom side. Dubs and Sneaky now droning to gather the information necessary to push forward and have a little bit of safety to do so. And while they do have control now of cash room, there is a vice grip, a pincer maneuver handled as the crossfire is set in stone. They'll be forced to use the X-Kairos pellets and breach through this construction wall, maybe to funnel out Sweater, who's going to be forced to walk a little bit closer. Right now, Sweater is playing this one aggressively, close to the chest, or close to the wall, I guess I should say. The drone maybe have found the information. No, it does not. Sweater swings through the hole created by Sneaky and shoots through a hole through the head of Sneaky, now creating a 1v2. 1v1. Dubs finds one more, but slapped immediately by Sweater, and another dominating round win by Mystic, though this one a little bit closer, even if they don't want to admit it.
Yeah, there was a little bit of trolling there. Not gonna lie to you there, Scott. But at the very end, last two of the smoke and also the, I believe it was a Mozzie. Sorry, my brain is just fizzling out right now. I do apologize. That one perfectly together. They established two different crossplay for trades, and then they both swung out on cash doorway in order to instantly trade back again. They just played that last few seconds there really well in tandem to give Mystic their third round. There has been nothing well happening by Coastal Gaming, and they did bring that one back towards the mid game of that. But again, just the very end of that round, they flubbed it, despite how even things were at a given point, and even the fact that they had a different advantage at one point too. Defensive side, which I mentioned being not as good as Mystic's attack, has been near flawless to a certain extent, and that really does worry me, because when attacking side, the match might basically be over at that point. I really am starting to think that there is a serious chance of us going to Cafe, and that sucks because going into this broadcast, I had high hopes for Coastal Gaming, and sadly, they just have not been able to display all that much, honestly.
10 seconds to go.
There's a lot of potential there. They're just failing to deliver. It's like my FedEx package that's supposed to be coming in from a certain company. Though, to be fair, there were hundreds of packages dumped inside a ravine.
That's not ever showing up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. There was hundreds of packages dumped in a ravine in Alabama, and I'm pretty sure that's where it is. But I don't get any of that. I don't get my headset, mouse, or keyboard or any of that. So a little unfortunate. I have to wait for that. They'll figure it out eventually. But It's just not been enough from Coastal Gaming. We know they have the potential. We've seen what they're capable of, but Mystic have been a dominant force, a bit of a scary one as well. There's something that you look at, and I'll say the phrase I haven't said in a long time here, John, a raid boss, something that you would look at and you can't just solo. It takes a lot of coordination and team chemistry to piece together the right puzzle pieces to give yourself a chance to even fight this one. And much like a raid would typically have, there's stages, there's levels of play against Mystic, and Mystic has a new strategy that they're bringing and employing for almost every single round. New micro positioning, new angles that they're holding, so much beyond, even new operators, as we're seeing in Oryx be brought out now for Newers. There's so much available for Mystic that they're utilizing in every single one of these rounds that Coastal Gaming, like we're seeing here as Tones finds 2, now 3, now it's Newers to find the last 2, a flawless round for Mystic. Coastal Gaming just didn't know what to do. They were completely and utterly caught off guard and removed from this round as quick as it started.
Well, I was gonna mention that slowness of how quick the rotations came in through by Mystic was a big problem during their roam. And well, apparently they were just quick on their feet entirely. That was a very fast round, and Mystic up 4-0. Yeah, there really wasn't much to talk about there color-wise. That was just some just straight pack watch done by Mystic. They're smoking that coastal pack, in all honesty. And I'm really going to be change at some point. But like I referenced earlier on round 3, or at the beginning of that, and honestly, I even got the rounds mixed up because how fast the 4th one ended, is Mystic is really good on their attacks. They're literally playing flawlessly on their defense. It's given more and more worries to my mind here for Coastal Gaming, because their attacks are not too sharp offensive to be either. I mean, I hate to bring up the same point twice, but that round just ended in the blink of an eye. They're up to their old habits again, going on these roam games, trying to catch Coastal Gaming off guard early on, and they haven't learned their lesson yet. They're still falling for the same stuff over and really here.
Now, I know that you guys watching wouldn't really have a great indicator for what I'm going to be talking about. Round 2 was the last time we saw this. Coastal Gaming had a great start. They actually did. They pieced together the right pieces. They took out 2, and it was a 4v3. Now, you'll remember me mentioning that, and you'll also remember me mentioning Sweater found a Nitro Cell kill that split the round wide open. That gave them the extra level of assistance, and that forced Coastal Gaming into a 3v3. There's been a lot of what Mystic has done to, even if they can't completely separate the distance, they'll close it up, or cinch up those odds by giving themselves a fighting chance bit by bit. We can already see them trying to get an early start to it as they'll look to find some shots, as Doc with that MX4 Storm looks to find a target, but Bills will be the first to do it. Takes out Bumsys, sitting inside Stripper, will unfortunately lose the next fight as Sakata is there instead, and it is quickly made the 4v3 with Doc finding the headshot kill onto Gohan. Doc was hunting for that out jacuzzi wall for the last minute now, John. He's been sitting there the entire time waiting for the prey to come forward, and now Sweater's looking for their target. Throws a Toxic Babe. Newers finds the kill into Sakata. A second now onto Sneaky, and they're completely removing this round. Coastal Gaming does not want to be here. It is blatantly obvious, and while Dubs may find 1, he's got to find 3 more on top of it. And this is Mystic hunting at its finest as Newers does the nasty and gets the kill with the Bailiff.
I mean, just a bait and switch. The smoke and impact play was not the main point of contention there. That is just again a misleading round. A pause coming in through. Might
not a
be
bad choice.
A little too late, unfortunately. Coastal Gaming, you've already thrown 5 rounds. Sorry. So, wonder what that's about. Maybe they're really thinking they're a staffing, perhaps. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this pause, Scott? Because I'm trying to wrap my head, to be honest. I feel like it's already too late for this. Should have done this in like round 3. Hell,
what's the phrase when you talk about your second leg, right? Like, or your second wind, right? Second wind. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know what it is. No matter what Mystic's been throwing around, every leg, all 3 of them, it has been really making this one difficult as they toss their weight around quite exponentially and not allow whatsoever to give any chance for Coastal Gaming to make the return. I'm just going to say it right now. Coastal Gaming, they're not putting together anything. This is one of those things where you look at it and go, oh, it's just an easy Lego set. This isn't like their new AT-AT and trying to piece together 1,300 piece puzzle. No, this is as easy as putting two bricks together and they're all six pieces, right? It's the easiest thing you can do. Now, pulling them apart's a bit harder, but actually putting them together is fairly simplistic. And we're not seeing that in the slightest. Things aren't connecting. They're not finding impact. The players that we saw getting kills are not the ones doing it this time around. Dubs has been the player that was so bad on map one. Their utility was fine, but they just couldn't find any impact, any kills. And now I believe he's leading the pack on frags on this map. And it's just because everyone else on Coastal Gaming has just not been pulling themselves up by the bootstraps and bringing themselves back into this. It's almost like they're still struggling to face the Mystic of map one. Their mentality has been destroyed after getting swapped on that second half.
Well, Jim Bedroom going to be the last sight on this first half for Mystic, and they're not changing up their lineup in the slightest from last time they brought this one. Still in the ally, so I think he's really just opt into mount as quickly as humanly possible, just constant. Yeah, I don't have very high hopes for Coastal Gaming still. They've changed a little bit though. I kind of like the pick. Maybe that can help them clear out the tensions that Mystic is still implying. But more or less, it's been coming down to this roam clear overall, and maybe bring like Jackal or Brahman could be much more impactful throughout the round, at least at the very beginning, than contrast to something like a Capitao, because that's not going to be used to clear out the roam game. It's going to be those slight extensions, and that has not been the problem for Coastal Gaming. It's been those initial gunfights that they're getting around, not towards the later parts.
Yeah, we've seen how the latter half of these maps in the first place have gone, not even to mention the latter half of the rounds, as it has been a dominant performance by Mystic. Somebody else said it best here, John. Coastal Gaming look lost. They do. They really and truly don't really know what they're doing in a lot of ways. They're struggling to piece together anything, and Mystic are toying with their food. Look at this run out. Tones has no right to double peek that. He finds an opportunity, manages to tag Dubs, and then just runs out and takes out Gohan, who doesn't find an angle of approach and a bit of a higher level of safety, and instead just eco peeks the same angle, holding that Kittle location, and now it's an entirely different player actually pushing in and holding that window. A different player now for the Coastal Gaming side, as able to pick up a frag. They take out Doc, who rotated to that window instead, and while Sakata will take out Tones to, I guess, avenge what they had happen previously, Bills takes out Dubs in the same fell swoop. A 3v3, and there's not much utility in its actual effect, as their Thatcher, what you would consider to be one that's left unbanned for some strain on Rita, has been completely useless for Coastal Gaming. Dubs only able to get kills, and that's really all it's been for them. The utility has not been there. They just haven't pieced together their structure of attack. And while they may be picking up frags now as it's a 3v2, it may be too little too late, as it's already 5-0 in this half.
A lot of bloodshed happening on this round. This could be the single win, though, for Coastal Gaming, just to not get flawless on the first half, possibly. It's just Sweater and Newers left basically alone, I should say. Toxic Babes is still in play, though. That could be a great way to burn through time, and that's the big benefit to Coastal Gaming in this round. Not just their man advantage, because we've seen time in and time through trades coming in through by Mystic, and it happens already. They're just running into Newers, and Case has now been dropped as well. It's up to Sakuda on the Capitao, trying to bring this one back for his team and deny a match point. A wall bang comes in through, but he doesn't actually know Sakuda's behind it, so it won't be a confirmed frag just yet. Newers now getting down, so we're technically in that 1 versus 1, unless Sweater could possibly rotate around to confirm that revive, and it looks like he'll go for it, as the intel has not been gained. Asphyxiating Bolt comes in through, but it's not going to connect onto Newers just yet. That Toxic Babe keeping back the Capitao as well. It'll be a very dangerous play, but if it works out for Mystic, this could manage to keep that man advantage alive and just make sure this round is twice as more challenging for Coastal Gaming.
Able to get the revive back up. That's what being DBNO's specialty truly is. Getting your teammate back into the fight and making that 1v1 swiftly back to that 2v1. Newers up for the count. Has all of their, Oryx charges available to use, but it's not really that useful for him as of this moment. But thankfully for Newers, that is, his teammate will distract, leaping through that bedroom window, forcing him to turn, and there goes the CCTV window play from Newers to lop the head off once again. A dominant performance and a completely lopsided affair for that halftime, as even though we saw Coastal Gaming squeeze out some success in a couple of those rounds getting close, but ultimately no cigar. Mystic with a 6-0 match point half, And now they're heading into the attack, which you mentioned earlier here, John, is almost just as strong.
Yeah, and again, I want to just highlight the play style that Mystic performed there at the very end, just playing for the quick refrag game when you got that man advantage. Well thought out by Mystic. And they only need one more to wrap it out because they played the first half essentially perfectly in terms of round count. Maybe Coastal Gaming could possibly replicate that. Uh, I'm not too sure. They have it really in them. Their mental might be a little bit down, perhaps. It's been a bit of a long evening for everyone, I suppose. But at least they'll start on the strongest site and bring a bit of a heavy roam game to try to burn through some of those valuable seconds. But Mystic, they're bringing out the Jackal to try to make that roam game a little bit more effective and a little more efficient. That could really be helpful moving and forward, especially if they get those first initial picks. On top of that, could be key just to about this second map 7.
Hopefully, if we continue to see Mystic pop off, it ends in 1, right? I mean, that's your best case scenario if you're a Mystic fan, or if you have something to do after this. I'm not too sure. I'm scheduled for full time. I'm here for as long as it takes. If Coastal Gaming want to take their time and, I guess, find where they are, because they have been looking extremely lost. If they want to find themselves in this one, they may need to do some internal soul seeking right now. And I also think they need to do some internal strat seeking, as they haven't really had much beyond. But we can see with their defensive presence right now, they're bringing the Thunderbird and placing those gumball machines at very strategic locations. We saw one behind Church. I'm sure we'll also have one towards Blue. That'll allow for those defenders to, even if they decide to peek a fight, as long as it's not an instantaneous death, they'll still have the option to fight one way or the other. But it's going to drop handily in favor of Coastal Gaming now, as they'll find 2 instantaneously. Doc will come for the refrag on Dubs, but they've still come out victorious in this early fight, and they're continuing to do so. Bumza, not so bumming out right now, takes out Doc. And Sweater we fell immediately afterward by Sneaky. With one player left standing of Newers, the Finka boost may be helpful to just you, but it's more helpful when you've got teammates around you. And unfortunately, there's no nades and no problems for Newers.
Let's see if we can pad up those stats a little bit further. Down goes Bumza. 1 versus 3 now recovered. Things looking a little bit better, and he has a couple more adrenal surges to play with as well. He'll have another one once this one will finally be deplenished. And still plenty of time to maybe find a couple extra picks here, but now he's on just about 5 HP, give or take. That goo mine almost being his demise. Luckily, he pulls out at just the right time to keep himself up and active for just a few more seconds. Some last-second intel being gathered as well near bar. Yeah, Newers is very limited here in this 1vx situation, as he pops his last adrenaline surge just to gain a little bit more HP before he dives into the Lion's Den. Coastal Gaming, they don't have a very high chance of being able to toss this, but if Newers can isolate, you might have a very small chance to bring this one back. A one tap from out of nowhere. What a damn good shot, just by the blink of an eye especially. It's a 1v2 all of a sudden, but it's still a very tough hill to climb here for Newers to win this one out 7-0.
I'm still in shock, John. I'm actually still shocked. Go on, finds the last kill, but Newers, what? Can we get a replay of that? I don't think that's the thing we have, but somebody clip it when it comes up, and then I'll look back at it in the chat later. That was I don't think he intended for that. I don't think he actually knew that target was there. I think that was him thinking it was maybe utility or something and just trying to take a simple shot at it. No matter what it is, that was nasty. It was dirty. As our production is saying, wash your hands. That was disgusting. 100%. That's one of those situations, if you're Coastal Gaming on the defense, you're looking at this going, yeah, we're going to start having to follow the 5-second rule, because if we're all lying on the ground, Newers is just going to clean us up. He does not care about the bacteria whatsoever. And Mystic, despite them not being able to close out in a flawless performance, 7-0 on this map, they still have a lot of wiggle room to work with. And while that attack didn't give any glimpses of hope, because a very strong Coastal Gaming defense, I do think there is going to be a very strong hold now with Mystic being able to attack the second floor and having a bit more space to work with in their push.
Well, you mentioned space. There's a lot of breathing room for Mystic, and the wave attack was probably not ideal for the way that Coastal Gaming was defending. You normally go for that top-down roam clear, and when bringing out the Jackal, that can be a piece of cake. Unfortunately, they went right in towards Kitchen and kind of got blasted through by Coastal Gaming. So as long as Coastal Gaming can keep punishing for these massive mistakes by Mystic, they could manage to claw this one back a little bit further. But again, it is 6-1 right now for Mystic. They've got time to kill. In all honesty, and the bigger thing might be they're just waiting for the perfect moment to take away the match. It's just it really is still in their ballpark. In all honesty, here, Scott, despite how well that round worked out for Coastal Gaming.
Yeah, it's in the realm of possibility. We know what Gohan's capable of. I mean, we saw the ace earlier in map 1. Let's not forget that occurred. We've seen that Sneaky and Sakata combined do very well together when they're defending. We know what they pulled off on basement, I believe, in round 3 and 5 or 3 and 6 for the side previously, but they're gonna have a very strong start, and they're gonna go for the bandit tricking on this CCTV hard wall. And while there is a Thatcher available, they can just play with this little by little, working with it. The bandit trick completely disallows any chance of that going further, and they've got a player in rafters. Sakata holding ADSs in hand, has the magnets also to work with, and can continuously toss down those impacts when available to, I guess, try to make things a little bit more difficult for Mystic to hold against that doorway, but it doesn't seem to stop him so far. Bumza loses the fight to 1. Now it's a 4v4, and with 2 minutes remaining, they're going to have to find more kills to piece together, and Sneaky loses the affair against Bills, and it's going to force Gohan to pick up the slack onto Tones, and they're going to be capable of doing so, but it's still a tied 3v3 until Sweater's DBNO'd, but he's not out of the fight just yet.
And not getting a proper line of sight to finish him off here. But in the background, Sakuda shuts down Bills. Swing comes in through by Doc. It's clean onto 1, but Gohan waiting underneath in the bottom of Garage gets the last 2 on the round. Coastal Gaming still clawing through Mystic's attacks round after round to make it 2-6. Still a very tricky slope to make sure you don't fall down, but at least they are bringing this one back a little bit closer as we continue on the second half here.
Coastal Gaming. All right, John, I'll bring a question towards you, not to just immediately throw back to you and put you on the spot. What do you think
you're
the
fine.
chances
Internet's
are
good.
of Coastal
Make it count.
Gaming? Yeah, make it count. What do you think the chances are of Coastal Gaming? What do you think the chances are of Coastal Gaming making the return here? Give it a an out of 10 score. 10 being they'll do it, 1 being no chance whatsoever.
Probably. Well, that's a very grim answer by Tango.
All right, Tango. Thank you, producer. Negative 1.
Put
okay.
a very pessimistic number. I'd give them probably a 4. It depends on when Mystic stops trolling, because they're still not playing these rounds as perfectly as possible. Again, I'll play devil's advocate though. It's 6-2. There's a 4-round differential on the board, and Mystic has been known to be a very aggressive team, and in this instance, been a little bit too aggressive. Maybe if they calm that down just a little bit, play a tad more default, they could really have their way up against Coastal Gaming, especially on Gym and Bedroom, which used to, in theory, be the worst bomb site, and I feel like since Thatcher is available, it technically is, because there's no mirror on the board, so you cannot go for as much of a dominating extension as you normally would, simply because that Thatcher is on the board and he can clear through a lot of utility in this round. So this could be the one round for Mystic to sweep things away and out of Coastal Gaming's hands, but if they continue to make these gigantic errors in their attacks, then Coastal Gaming will continue to find round after round.
What's my old phrase, John? Small mistakes eventually add up to make the one big mistake, which is ultimately losing the round or losing the map, right? And Mystic are just, they have so many rounds they can bleed. It's not really a point of contention for them. They're not worried in the slightest, but they're starting to be a bit more systematic. They'll open up the wall connecting from construction, giving them an outlook towards that northeast side, and they'll also get rid of Logi Hatch. That's going to force Bumza out from Logi as a whole, and will make things easier for them to entry, not just through Hatch of Logi, but also through that soft wall they previously introed in anyway, since they're just going to forego any of that. They'll sweep in from that jacuzzi wall. Bills finds the first impact, but Socket is quick and refrag. That has been a very dominant turn here for them as they push into the western edge, but Coastal Gaming frag back immensely until Doc can have something to say about it. Takes out 2 more. Newers goes for a nice peek as Gohan gets aggressive and loses the fight, and Dubs will find no dubs. GG Nori, it's over and done. A 7-2 scoreline is your victor right now for Mystic as they find themselves map 2 in a very dominant affair. Okay, Tango, you're right. It is a -1. They really didn't have a great chance. Once Mystic started to just put the gas pedal on or started to take their time and really play, it was going to be theirs in the end.
Yeah, just yeah, no, I got nothing to say, honestly. I was like, well, if they stop throwing, then they'll probably eventually win the match. And yeah, they were just like, all right, we're done fooling around. no more joking about here. We'll end out the match 7-2. So 2 very fast wins essentially to confirm at least semifinals contentions, I think, for Mystic. And I know that Surf has already won their match against Emergence because that was played a day or two ago. So depending on what teams forfeit or not, we might see a Goosig versus Mystic matchup. That could be pretty exciting. And also maybe a Surf. And I don't recall the team that actually forfeited on that other matchup. So we'll have to probably wait till next week to figure that one out. But it's been an exciting cast with you as always. Hopefully next time around my internet will not be as bad as usual. I always hate how it does that kind of time. But with all that being said, hope you all enjoyed the matchup here and to see you all again very, very soon for some more UPL action. Have a great night, everyone.
सागरे